Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's podcast, we're going to be talking all about the Star launch on Disney Plus internationally. We're going to be talking about the summer lineup that was announced for Disney Plus. We'll be taking our thoughts on the new Luca trailer and giving our thoughts on the latest WandaVision episode and much more. So before we do that, a little quick bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. You can like, follow, and subscribe on Twitter and Facebook. You can join our Facebook group with over 160,000 members, and you can find us on all the different audio platforms, iTunes, Spotify, etc. Just want to do a big shout out and big thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon and YouTube channel members. It really makes a massive difference. Especially with everything that goes on right now. So it's big support. So first off, huge thank you to Sarah for being a platinum member. Really do appreciate all of your support, along with all of our other members. So quick shout outs to, I'm on Patreon, Andrew, Jacob, Caleb, Red Marsman, Andrew, Chris, Cody, Darren, The Juice. We've also got Lester, Lauren, James, and What's on Netflix. So thank you for all of your support. While over on YouTube, big thank you to Bad Dog Gamer, Joshua, Amit, Yusuf, Ben, Adam, Chelsea, Tom, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah for all of your support as well. Quick note as well, I've been starting doing live Q&As on Sunday evenings my time. So something I'm going to be continuing to do. We'll have another one tomorrow. I'm going to be probably guessing it's very much a Star launch one. I think tomorrow, a lot of the questions about that. So let's jump into it. So obviously Star launched this past week in 17 different countries, including the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, etc. And well, let's just say it definitely changed Disney Plus overnight. So on Monday night, we started getting new content starting to drip feed onto the platform a little bit earlier than planned. So what this is if you're unaware, it's now a sixth brand within Disney Plus. So where you've got Disney, Pixar, Marvel, National Geographic, and Star Wars, and you've now got Star. When you go into there, you have now got content from 20th Century Studios. We've got ABC, Freeform, FX, Searchlight Pictures. They've also moved some of the stuff that was in the Disney brand over to that one there, like Once Upon a Time, The Simpsons, also showing up now in the Star brand, Rio, things that were made by 20th Century. And this means that we've got content like Deadpool, we've got Family Guy, we've got The Strain, we've got all kinds of shows. There's about 300 new things added in the UK, about 400 or 500 in Canada and Australia. We've also now got new weekly new episodes of Star originals, which are only available on Star in certain countries. And just as a whole, it completely changed just Disney Plus, and the feedback online to this launch has been pretty impressive. You know, with so much excitement about it, there was a lot of expectations and stuff of what was going on with it, but also more importantly, it just kind of set up the idea of Disney Plus not being just for kids anymore. I don't know, did you see anything online yourself about the launch of Star?
Actually, not all that much, but I'm also not on social media, so I
No.
don't get to see that. I do have some international friends
Yeah.
with Disney Plus, but there weren't any
Yeah.
comments about it.
Well, one thing that kind of pulled up, and why it did gain a lot of attraction, because on social media and also on YouTube, they did put up a new parental controls video featuring Stewie Griffin from Family Guy, and then just a generic one, because at the same time, new parental controls launched globally. So even in the US, I'm sure when you logged in, you then got prompted, what settings do you want to set up for your profiles? And in America, it went up to TV 14, whereas for us over here, it went up to 18. And what this did is Disney kind of had to kind of explain why this was there for people, because obviously some parents, you know, they're not aware of what was going on, and the idea was, well, everything in Disney's fine. They've added a lot more control, a little bit, which I think actually allows them to maybe start doing a little bit more on Disney Plus. Kind of gives them a little bit more freedom now in the US to start exploring maybe the TV 14 area a little bit more, because they can use this parental controls to do that. But the main reason was for the launch of Star, because they couldn't launch it with, you know, Deadpool and, you know, Aliens and Predator on Disney Plus without having some more parental control. So there was that. Other quick issue I just want to bring up, just in case you are, if you try, there's a lot of people that they either share an account with somebody in the US, or they are over here working, and suddenly they found that they couldn't access the 18 and 16-year content because they were getting prompted with the TV-14 thing. And also some people were, like logging in through a VPN and going, well, why can't the US accounts are kind of locked into the highest they can go is like 14. So even if you're in, it now comes up with like a traveling message. And so we had a lot of people kind of, and some of it is just, maybe a boyfriend and girlfriend, they split their thing between the two of them. So it's something, completely normal, completely doable. But there was some issues with the US accounts not allowing you to go into that 18 section because they're like disabled by default. But that was the one thing with the parental controls. Moving on from there, we also had it was really weird. I tell you what, looking at Disney Plus on Tuesday morning and seeing, you've got like Mickey Mouse, and then you've got, Alien next to it, and then you've got Predator, and then there was like some Nazi documentaries from National Geographic thrown in there, and family. It just looked really weird. I'm not gonna lie, it just looked weird when we saw it all, and it's taken a bit of time to get it. And of course, what's happening is on like our Facebook group, a load of people logging in going, look at all this stuff, and then Americans going, well, what's that? Where's this? Why can't I have it? Where I can't find it? It's like, yeah, in America you're not getting it because you've got Hulu. But it's really just kind of, I would almost say throwing the cat amongst the pigeons, amongst people kind of going, hold on, what's going on over there? Because there's a big change over to having Star involved with Disney Plus.
Yeah, and I think most Americans weren't aware that it was coming at all, because why would they? It's not getting advertised here as it shouldn't be, unless you're following something like this podcast or podcasts like ours, or I don't know, is there a Disney Plus subreddit maybe? Something like that. You wouldn't have heard about it because there's no reason for them to advertise it to Americans. But now we are in an international world, and I'm sure it's very startling to hop onto Twitter and people are like, oh yeah, I watched Aliens last night on Disney Plus. I'm like, where'd you find that? Is that in National Geographics?
There's also the other thing as well of like some people like being very like, no, it's family friendly. Not anymore. It's not. It's like that's long gone. I mean, we've been having loads. They've done a really heavy promotional push to kind of get it launched. There's a lot of regional differences. We're kind of in that zone of, I would say up till like last week, pretty much like the UK and Australia and Canada were kind of on par. There was very little difference. There was a few titles here and there, but now we're talking, there are some massive differences because of existing contracts that are in place that have to expire. By the end of the year, there'll be a lot of the stuff leaving Amazon, a lot of the stuff leaving the BBC. There's all kinds of shows that you're kind of having a look at on different. I mean, literally last night I found out Disney Plus in Australia and New Zealand are getting brand new episodes of the 17th season of Grey's Anatomy every Friday as exclusive to this platform. And it's like, that's a big show. That's one of the biggest shows on Netflix is Grey's Anatomy, and that's now a Disney Plus show exclusive in Australia and New Zealand. I mean, things like that, which I think we're going to see more and more of as Disney Plus just continues to grow. So as I said, we've been covering it for months since they announced it, but it's amazing the difference it's made in the terms of content that's available to us all.
Yep, and people will continue to question why there is this older, more mature content, but fact of the matter is it's where it was going, and it'll make its way to the States at some point too. But let's not throw out all the non-mature content that's coming in from the deal as well. It's not necessarily something you think of as Disney content, but you're like, I'd have no problem having a kid watch this, or maybe
so I'm gonna, what I do is just for the people watching at home. So I'm just gonna bring up the screen here because I just want to show off a few things while we're in here.
I forgot about Family Guy.
Yes, and this is the thing is I wanted to show off. So, I mean, I'll be honest, I have been watching tons of Family Guy this past week. It's been on in the first thing I did watch was Family Guy, then I watched Deadpool 2, so it's kind of quite fun. So you can see here how Disney Plus suddenly drastically changes in terms of how things look, because you have Black Panther followed by Die Hard with a Vengeance, and there's obviously some big differences internationally. But what I wanted to show off here was the trending tab, because I want to show you the difference it has made to Disney Plus in the UK. So we have WandaVision at number 1. Number 2, we have Family Guy, and I don't think this one's going to be staying around a while. Flora and Ulysses at number 3. Solar Opposites, which is a Star original internationally, so that one's been really popular. Deadpool 2, American Dad, Futurama, Scrubs, The Simpsons. Now, I've never seen The Simpsons so low on the list. Then we have The Muppet Show, Big Sky, Ugly Betty, The Devil Wears Prada, Independence Day Resurgence. I don't know that one. Maybe people are going, I've not seen that before. No, that existed.
Yeah, I think most people just forgot it existed and got suckered into watching it. Save yourselves, guys.
Yeah,
stick with the original.
Yeah. And then we got 24, Grey's Anatomy, Independence
there's the original.
Day. Yeah. Myth, A Frozen Tale, Ice Age Collision Course, which was added in the UK this past week, Modern Family, 911, The X-Files, The Other Woman, Lost, and Kingsman, The Secret Service. Now that's suddenly, that is a very different trending tab. There's no Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, there's no Puppy Dog House, there's no Moana. All of the staples of the trending have completely been removed, and that's the big difference.
It is, and some of those we can expect will continue to trend for several weeks. I expect Family Guy at the very least will hold the spot that The Simpsons typically held, but a lot of them are also going to drop off because there's the novelty value of being able to see these, and they'll get overturned by other stuff. But will we get Mickey Mouse Clubhouse back on there or something like that? Probably at some point. I think this is really just a whole bunch of adults rushing in to enjoy stuff that they couldn't enjoy before this, or that was on one of the other platforms before now. And we'll see it turn back into a mix of content for adults, content for kids.
I think we are going to see a big. I think there will be certain ones that will I think some of the binge shows will definitely grab some more attention long term. I think, when you've got 300, 400 episodes of a show, people will start binging it. I think things like Solar Opposites and Family Guy will. I think I do find myself even like Family Guy. You can kind of put it on in the background. It's something that you can put on and just in it. I mean, I was just rolling through the episodes because of how it was working. Whereas maybe something like Grey's Anatomy, but there again, there's like 300 plus episodes of that show as well. So that keeps adding to the binge, but very different. It's suddenly, there's a few people going, oh, it's just a load of old stuff. It's like, yeah, it's old stuff now, but you watch how this will change over the next year with the contracts running out as more and more stuff. It did make me laugh. My wife did say to me, well, they've just nicked everything from Netflix and Sky. And I went, they didn't nick it. It's theirs.
We'll be seeing a bit more of that too, not just from Disney, but from Paramount and NBC as well for their individual platforms. It's interesting though, people have been like, oh yeah, it's just old stuff. But you see The Office get pulled from Netflix and people just going nuts over the fact that they can't watch The Office on there, even though it's been out for a while, or Parks and Rec's changing, or any of these. As much as we may want to push for new content, there is something to be said for the staying power of The Simpsons, of Family Guy, Parks and Rec, The Office, Seinfeld, Friends, all of these shows. People just love binging them over and over again. They'll finish the final episode and they'll start the first episode the next day.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big thing. And I think what's going to be interesting from the point of view with the addition of Star is the data that Disney are now going to be collecting, the data that they'll be getting from viewing habits, seeing how it all works, seeing what we're watching, seeing what adults are getting, seeing if the churn rate drops. Has it increased the because that's the big thing, I think. Not necessarily with getting new people in, but it will pull people in that maybe weren't going to get Disney Plus. But I think it's more about keeping Disney Plus and keeping adults engaged with Disney Plus. The parents, they talked about it being me time. You can suddenly see now, like you said, the kids have got access to it right through the day, and then suddenly if you're using it yourself, you're much more likely to go, actually, yeah, we'll keep that around. And then you're going to have all the teenagers and stuff going, oh yeah, there's loads of great shows on here to watch.
So
I don't want to. Yeah.
So I think that we're going to see a shift away from trying to draw in new users. This is basically the same thing you're saying. I think that they're going to try and draw in new users through more promotional deals, like we've seen. You buy or you lease an AT&T phone, and you'll get a year of Disney Plus, and then the focus becomes making sure that you keep Disney Plus at the 12-year mark, or the Mandalorian season 3 finishes. A lot of people drop off until the next major thing, but now the next major thing is actually the week after. So that's the kind of focus we're going to see.
I mean, as far as like, so we got 4 Star originals at the beginning. We got Hellstrom, Solar Opposites, Big Sky, but that one's not in Canada due to a deal. And then we also got Love Victor. Did I say Love Victor? Big Sky, Solar Opposites, and Hellstrom. Then next month we're getting Dollface. That starts next week in the UK. I did watch the first episode. I'm going to be honest, I really hated it. I didn't like it one little bit.
That's the one with Kat Denning, right?
It was all about a girl that gets dumped, and then she has to crawl back to her friends who she hasn't spoke to in years because she's kind of stepped up. It was a bit surreal. I didn't like it. My wife didn't like it, and so we won't be watching any more episodes. It was a 1 hour, and it's like, okay, that's kind of in some way of like, okay, that's fine. We tried it. We got another one starting next 2 weeks afterwards, and there's a Love in Corona short story thing happening. But they also announced this week that Grownish is going to be coming to Disney Plus in April in the UK. It's going to be starting up in Canada, so that will be exclusive, dropping each week. We're also going to be getting the Aretha Franklin Genius Show will be dropping as a Star Original in June. And there's also going to be Rebel, which is a new ABC series. I think we're going to start seeing this a lot more with the newer shows, where they haven't got all the deals in place. But, there are going to be stuff dropping constantly, stuff dropping in. So Star really kind of jumped off with a big bang, a lot of impact, a lot of people, I think, as you said, jumping in, finding stuff. But I think, like, if you're 14, 15, and you've been enjoying like WandaVision and stuff, you've now got all these other shows to watch that are for you. And I think that's not to be, essentially, there's been so much focus on, maybe 7, 8-year-olds that now, dealing for 13, 14-year-olds is just as important.
Yeah, definitely that. And the content's already there for the younger audience. You don't really need to create much new content. You obviously need the steady stream, but it's not a huge deal. You're not going to get some Mandalorian level TV show for 6 to 8-year-olds, and all of a sudden you're just going to see a massive number of subscribers. I think most people in that age range watch the same stuff over and over again. At least talking to the parents that I know, who are just thankful to not be watching Frozen 2 for the 30,000th time. And so moving into that not quite young adult, young teenager, tweenager, whatever, makes sense.
So there's obviously been a lot of talk about, what's happening with the US and stuff. So the reason why it can't launch in the US just yet, Disney obviously have Hulu, and they got to try and keep pushing Hulu because Comcast still owns 33% of the company, and they can't, by 2024, they can buy each other out. Or not buy, there's a deal that Comcast can either ask to be brought out, or Disney can say you can be brought out. It could be done earlier. So there is that issue that they've got to get around that. So they've got to start building up Hulu really for life after Comcast, because once all the NBC content leaves, and you've got to start thinking that A&E Network and Discovery and all these other networks are all starting to pull their content from Hulu as well as the deals start running. They're going to run up in that situation of they've got to shore up Hulu. And then that's when they've got to make a decision on what they do. Because unlike, there's a lot of questions, a lot of people kind of comparing Star to Hulu. And there's a lot of things that are not the same. We don't have live television. There's no live content coming through Disney Plus on here. There's no real like third-party content. It's not like we're buying in, you can't watch SmackDown and you can't watch, NBC or anything like that, or there's no next day thing. So it's a very different, it's how it works. It is essentially, just, and I kind of said to people, imagine it's just like having National Geographic within Disney Plus. You don't think of it as different. It's just part of it. It's not really like Hulu, because it gets thrown around a lot. Like, oh, it's their version of Hulu. It's like, no, it's not really anything like that at all. It's Disney Plus with more content. That's literally all it is.
It's like Hulu in that it has the Hulu content.
Yeah.
If you can watch it on Hulu, chances are you can watch it on Disney Plus outside of the States, provided you're not digging too deep into the back catalog there.
Well,
But that's where the comparison ends.
Now there's a little bit of there are some issues with a lot of the like the Hulu stuff and also the ABC and FX content because of existing contracts, but also what a lot of people don't quite realize is a lot of shows that look like they're Disney shows. They're on ABC, they're on Freeform, but they're not actually made by them. For example, they've been the Critics Association tour press. So we've had a lot of news this week. Each day there's been a different event, one for ABC, one for FX, one for Freeform. Now, like Freeform, for example, they've got a couple of shows that they don't even make. You know, one of them is made by, I think, the Bow Type or something is made by Universal. So therefore, that's not a Disney Plus. It can't come to Disney Plus internationally because it's not made by them. You know, Handmaid's Tale is made by MGM, so it's not actually available to be made. So there's a kind of a weird thing of like every time something gets announced, it's like, right, who's making it? No, that's not. If 20th Century Television or ABC Signature are making it, I can go, yeah, that'll be coming to Star. But if it's being made by another company and been like a third party, then you then go, it's a bit iffy. So there are some issues with some of the Hulu stuff of what's coming up. So it's, you know, there's always that kind of little bit of a line. For example, like MODOK, a new, you know, that one there I'm expecting to become a Star original, or you know, things like that we will be seeing a lot more of. Okay, so that's kind of pretty much the Star lineup. I'm going to be honest, thought it was fantastic. So let's move now on to that Critics Association, because there's a lot of stuff. Disney really came out and were like, I couldn't believe they did this, because they did it happened this Television Critics Association Winter Press Tour. Just so happened to be that I was going through a major technical problem with the website. We couldn't do it. So they announced that the premiere dates for Big Shot, Star Wars: The Bad Batch, Loki, The Mysterious Benedict Society, Monsters at Work, Chip 'n Dale Park Life, Turner and Hooch, and also gave us more information on High School Musical, the musical, the series, and Zenimation. I mean, I sort of went, they've just told us pretty much like everything right through till July, August, which they've never done. They've never done it like this. You know, we've got dates, so I'm just going to read them out to you so you know. Falcon and the Winter Soldier arrives on March 19th. March 26th is Mighty Ducks Game Changers. April the 16th is Big Shot. Star Wars: The Bad Batch drops on May the 4th, with episodes following up on the following Fridays. May 14th is High School Musical, the series, season 2. June the 11th is Loki. Zenimation season 2 arrives on the same day. June the 25th is the Mysterious Benedict Society. July the 2nd is Monsters at Work. July the 16th is Turner and Hooch. And on July the 23rd is Chip 'n Dale Park Life. So with the weekly releases, we're again going to be getting 2 to 3 shows a week, pretty much from the end of March. That'll be how it will work out. And I mean, by my reckoning, we were like well into October before this stuff ran out. That was how far in advance because like Turner and Hooch is like a 12 episode series, so that runs right through then till October. I think like Chip 'n Dale Park Life has got 36, 37 episodes, but we don't know if that's going to be dropping weekly or if they're going to be doing 2 at once or in little batches and stuff yet. But I was just like, wow, they really just, we said about keeping you subscribed. That's it. They just literally just came out, here you go. You want some Disney stuff? Here's what you're getting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it also has to do with last year, of course, being the drought year. You know, lots of people talking about when is more stuff coming to Disney Plus. I mean, Mandalorian's great, but I need something between season 1 and season 2. And now, so this year, and well into 2022 at this point as well, Disney is just going, hey, you want content? We've got content, and here's what it is. You know what? Maybe Chip 'n Dale's not for you, but Turner and Hooch is over here. We got them for you. Maybe you don't want that. Well, we've got Marvel content all the way through the end of the year. We've got Star Wars content like the Bad Batch. They are really making sure that people know there's content and that there's content for them.
I was just very impressed with that because usually they kind of, you know, slowly drip feed information out and kind of, it was like, no, they really came in strong and, treating it essentially like a television network where they're like, oh, here we go, here's all our dates, here's what you got to come. We've got weekly shows dropping. I mean, so most weeks we're going to have at least 3 shows dropping, and there was no mention there of any National Geographic or documentary shows or things that will also be dropping in. I'm sure there's some other stuff that they've not told us, but I was just like, that's considering last year we had Diary of a Future President in March, and I think that ended like in June, and then we went right through to The Right Stuff before we got any drama series. But for most probably adults, they probably went from The Mandalorian or High School Musical at the beginning of January and didn't watch a single another live drama then until October when The Right Stuff dropped. That was none of that this year. You ain't getting a week. You're not getting a week off. It's just literally just like there's a new episode, something new every single week.
And there was stuff dropping last year that if it dropped now, we wouldn't even talk about it. A lot of this, we would talk about movies or shows, just like, we only watched this because it was the only thing that dropped this week. When you think, it happened in a couple cases.
Yeah, the days I think it's like when we had like Shop Class, like the biggest week for the week was Shop Class or
Shop Class or The Big Fib or
there was another one. Was it we had the Be Our Chef? We were like, this is really See,
and the thing was, they weren't necessarily bad shows. Some of them needed some serious tweaking, maybe some editorial guidance. But at the end of the day, it's like, you're not getting hyped up for Shop Class. You're not getting hyped up for Be Our Chef. It's not a bad thing to turn on a rainy day, especially if you want some inspiration for some baking or whatever. But it's not drawing in subscriptions. It's not Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I also feel as well like drama. Drama has pulls people in differently. It's the escapism. There's a different element. Big Shot is one that's kind of jumping out to me of being like, how is this one going to work? Am I going to be pulled into it? Because I've got no attachment to basketball. This guy, John, I know he's popular in America. I don't have any connection with him in the slightest. So I don't have that. He doesn't have it. So I'm waiting to see what the episode's like, because it might not be something I like. It might be something I do like. It's like the Mighty Ducks. I only really watched the movie for the first time a couple of months ago, and it was like, okay, I've got no connection to that series, but I'm willing to see how it goes and see how that plays out. So those are 2 series which kind of they could work, they might not. But then I look at Turner and Hooch, and that is a show that a lot of people go, oh, I don't need reboots and all the rest of it. Whereas I'm going, that's the one out of them that I'm actually more interested in. I like cop shows and I like dogs, so therefore, that's, you put the 2 together.
It is going to be hard to follow Tom Hanks in that, though. So it does have a little bit of an uphill climb. But I'll say the same thing about Mighty Ducks or Big Shot or things like that. The sports, whether or not you care about the sport, really doesn't matter too much in the end. It's the story they tell. I don't care about basketball, but I could see how this will turn into an interesting story depending on what they choose to focus on.
The love story and the him struggling.
It's probably just going to be beauty shots of John Stamos for half an hour, which I think most people would be okay with.
I think a lot of that as well is just about having the idea of having drama. I mean, then we've got High School Musical, the series, which I think is going to be 12 episodes this time around. And you got to think, like when these shows are dropping with 10 to 12 episodes, that means they're on every single week for 2 to 3 months. And they can build up that momentum. They can build up that talk. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. Just like there, when I was putting together all the lists of all the shows dropping, and then you got things like, Gordon Ramsay Uncharted, that'll be dropping weekly in the US as well. And then I think we're going to start seeing this a little bit more with other shows for the networks dropping. You are going to start looking there on Friday going, what am I going to watch today? I know instantly with the Star Originals, where we've got 3 or 4 shows a week. I think in some weeks in March, we've got like 6 originals dropping a week. That's, and then again, it's like, okay, I've got a choice here of 9 shows to watch. What shall I watch first? And that's, we're going back to like launch month, right when we had like 6 things a week to be watching. And I'm really just looking forward to having that choice and having people have that choice.
Yeah, it's great to have that choice, and people should also expect that we will be making that choice, and there will be things that we don't talk about simply because we don't have the time to do it, and things will fall through the cracks. But it's a nice problem to have.
Mm. Yeah, it's nice, the day, when you go, right, okay, we've got a 4 minute short to talk about. That was all it's taken a long time to get there. It's definitely, I don't think Disney Plus was quite ready for when they did launch last summer. They were a little bit lacking. I don't think, obviously, COVID definitely had an impact, but I also feel like their confidence in the platform grew so quickly that this is essentially this would be like early last year, like a month after the launch, going, yeah, we got people signing in, folks. We're on to something here. Let's start making shows for it. And we always knew the Marvel shows were a little bit further behind, but you can now start seeing where it's all starting to kick in. I think obviously had COVID not happened, we might have had Big Shot. We would have had High School Musical a lot earlier. They've all that's the thing. But it was just really nice seeing that lineup. And then, like I said, then we get into like Hulu kind of did the same thing as well with them. Also, they've got Love Victor coming in. They've got the MODOK series. They also said that they've got a new biopic that they're making about Mike Tyson. It is going to be a lot of content coming in, and yeah, it's just really interesting to see how all this is going to play out. And we've kind of gone past that early zone of nothing to watch. I'm just looking here at the Hulu list. So we've got Handmaid's Tale. Obviously, that won't be on Disney Plus, but that'll be dropping. Shill will be returning in May, along with this new MODOK. Did you see that MODOK trailer for Hulu?
That trailer was bonkers. Very Robot Chicken-esque.
I think it's made by the same team, I think.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that. I think the only thing that's really surprising about it is that it's an actual Marvel product and not a spoof product made by the Robot Chicken team.
Yeah, when we first heard about all these animated series they were making for Marvel, we're like, what? No. And then they cancelled a load of them, didn't they? There was going to be like 5 or 6 of these things, and they were going to lead up to each other. And now, like, I've seen the first bit of MODOK going, yeah, we really didn't have anything to worry about. These are very different. It's instantly going, yeah, this is not MCU. This is not, it's, yeah, but I like the fact that it's the stylized is so far away from it. There is you can't get it confused. It's different.
You can't watch that trailer and not get an idea of what to expect from the series, and to go pretty much instantly, yeah, I see why this is not coming to Disney Plus. This is a Hulu original, or well, it'll be a Star original.
It'll be a Star original for us, yeah.
But in the States, there's no question why this is not coming to Disney Plus.
Yeah, so that there's a lot of stuff there coming in. Just a really great lineup, I think, for the summer. Speaking of the summer, Disney also released a trailer for Luca, which is a new Pixar movie, which they kind of were very loose. You can tell they're being a bit loose on, no mention of theaters, no mention of Disney Plus. They're being very sort of wide open with what they're doing with it. The trailer dropped. What did you think of it?
It was an interesting trailer. At first, I was kind of enjoying kind of the Wallace and Gromit vibe that I was getting from at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
But then, they throw in the actual story at the end of it. And I don't know if they'd never mentioned that portion of it, or if I just missed it in the press, like, oh, well, that's a twist I wasn't expecting.
I think there's a lot of that, because I kind of remember there being something about it, but it was like literally a bit of text. It didn't really. I think when you see it in the trailer, going, "Oh, I get it now." Like if they hit water, they turn into they're mer
something,
mer people,
mermen.
And I think you can tell it instantly, kind of like the Italian vibe of going, and as that's like the closest we're all going to get to Italy. We're like, oh, that looks nice. And then it looked weird. It's kind of that weird thing of there's a lot of there was a lot of like people going, well, they should put it on Disney Plus like Pixar. It's like, yeah, like Soul. It's like Soul was a one-off.
Soul and onwards. That's not how they would have done it normally. And they kind of want Pixar to make money.
Yes.
Like actual money.
So I thought the trailer looked lovely. It looked great. It's that kind of weird thing, and I'm sort of sitting there going, and it is that weird thing. It's like, I know it's I'd much I still think I would it's the kind of movie I think we would much more like to watch at home without kids around. The kind of thing of those kind of movies, with a theater full of kids, it's like, actually, yeah, I could see that would be something I would fire up because it looked lovely. I think, and I definitely interested in it. I like the twist of it. I want to see where that one goes. It just looks beautiful. I'm kind of getting that Coco vibe. I think they're going to do this very well with Italian. I think it's going to be very on brand, and I think it's going to work very well for them. So hopefully we'll find out what happens with that one.
I'm personally expecting it'll get a theatrical release because we're already not expecting it until late in the year. Yeah. At which point, hopefully, vaccine herd immunity kind of stuff really will have hopefully kicked in by that point.
Yes, well, I got my shot this week, so I should be good to go for it. But I mean, over here, our cinemas will not opening up. I think it's about the 17th of March. I'm sorry, 17th of May, something like that.
I was going to say March is really early.
Yeah, they can open up in mid-May over here. So that's instantly put a big cloud over Black Widow for us because it's not open. Our cinemas aren't open for it. I know I think New York, they're allowed to start opening up to like 25% capacity or something like that. So we are starting to see a shift. We are starting to see, people might be more, people are going to be willing to start going out a bit more as this all kind of kicks in, as, numbers continue to kind of drop down a bit. There's still going to be social distancing in place with like face masks. And so this is why I think Disney have been very, very cautious with things like Cruella and Luca with their marketing. There is no mention of theaters only. There's no mention of theaters. There's no mention of Disney Plus Premier Access. They're being very vague for a reason because they can adjust and flick and change. I don't think they're worried too much now about it's coming out on that date. It's just how they're going to do it. I think Disney are being a lot more coy. They're going to see how Raya and the Last Dragon does next week to see whether or not that works. They said, they want to offer choice and I think they still want people to go back to the cinemas, but they know that there's going to be a bit of it might take a while to get people back in. And if there's, if you've still got to sit there with your mask on, people will be like, yeah, no, I'm not, I'll wait. There was a big thing as well with this Premier Access, and we've said it 100 times before. If you're a single person or you're a couple, Premier Access seems expensive. When you have a family and with kids, I will watch it over and over again. It's cheap. There's a real line, and there's some people, I'm not spending that. I'd rather buy the DVD. It's like, yeah, but that's your choice. It's Premier Access. The Premier is in the title that it's something that they put on a different pedestal. They put it up on a bit higher. But I still think that this one and Cruella and all the rest of it will still end up being dual releases to counter loss or counter off some of the losses from the ticket sales not being so high.
Yeah, and as a single person who'll be looking at a lot of Disney Premier Access in the near future, I'm just like, it's probably not worth it.
Yeah. I must admit, because I was saying this to my wife the other day about Raya and the Last Dragon. My wife goes, I showed her the trailer. She goes, well, I said, well, we'll watch that next week. Okay. She goes, how much is it? 20 quid. Well, I wouldn't pay that. I said, I know you wouldn't, but it's the kind of thing of, if it was $4.99, I'd be much more, we probably would rent it. But at £20, it's like, it's a bit of a premium.
The question for you, Roger, would be, if we weren't doing this podcast, would you pay the 20 quid for it?
I wouldn't be renting Ryan. I'd be waiting a little bit for it to come out. I think actually, to be honest, I mean, I would usually be this kind of thing. I would go cinema to watch it. This is the kind of thing I would wait to rent. And that's being honest. I mean, if that was made by DreamWorks, I'd still be there going, oh, I like the look of that movie. But I maybe don't have to. I wouldn't, obviously we can't go cinema to see it, but I would be like, I'm not paying 20 quid for it. Black Widow is definitely one I know I probably would do. I was tempted with Wonder Woman because that came on recently, and they're going, I think it was like 16 quid. I'm going, and it's like, there's been it's like, well, I'm a bit hit and miss with the DC universe. So it's like, yeah, I'll just wait, I think.
I would have saved my money. I got it on HBO. Yeah. Because it was released on HBO here, and I've got the membership for that. So I watched it on that. I think you would not have been happy if you'd paid 16 quid for it and then watched it. It's not as bad as people say it is. I think there's a lot of knee jerk because it's not as good as the original, but it's also not as good as it could have been.
Yeah, I'm being honest. I mean, the minute it hits about £4 or £5 on the normal rental price, I want to see it. I don't want to see it, but I think as well, it didn't help with us getting it like a month later anyway. At which point you've kind of, I think, had it been available on Christmas Day, I would have been very, very much more tempted to do that on Boxing Day as a bit of a treat. But I wouldn't have done it. A month later, like, yeah, no, the moment's gone now. That was the thing. Had it been out over here in the UK to rent on Christmas Day, I probably would have pulled the trigger but now I wouldn't. So let's now move on to what we've been watching on Disney Plus. I started off with Deadpool 2, so let's get the good ones rolling. So we also had Myth, A Frozen Tale. Did you happen to catch that one?
I did watch that. And I think the biggest impression I got from it is I really wish I would watch it in VR instead, the way it was originally intended to be presented.
Yeah.
It's nice to have it accessible without VR, because I know a lot of people don't have VR headsets, and I think this one might have only been on the Oculus as well.
I think something like that,
otherwise, I probably would have checked it out because I have a Samsung WMR, which is not an Oculus, so the Oculus store doesn't work on it. But I mean, for 10 minutes, it was fine. It was a little zen, and it was nice that they tacked on the very, very short, like, making of, I wouldn't even call it a documentary, just intro piece.
I wish they put it at the end.
I do agree with that.
It was a bit like, okay, why are you doing this now? This should be an extra at the end. I didn't like it at the beginning. It's like, kids, it should just be fired straight into almost along the lines of going, yeah, we know this is not normal and we don't want you all complaining, so we're putting this at the front first. It's a little bit like, set your expectations, people. It's not a Frozen short. That's the way they were maybe trying to put it across.
Yeah, it's not a Frozen short, and it's also not like a Zenimation kind of thing, because it's supposed to be at least a little bit interactive, but obviously it's not interactive on Disney Plus. You need to have the Oculus to do the interactive experience. It was fine, 10 minutes. If they took out the narration, the woman talking about the book and stuff, it would have fit just fine into one of those little screensaver ones, and then you would have forgotten about it a week later. Well, not even a week, a couple days later.
I'll be honest. I mean, I would much rather have been on the PlayStation VR, and I would have happily tried it out. But it's, again, the trouble is this stuff is it kind of like, it's all like freeware, isn't it? You kind of look at it and go, I wouldn't pay for it. It's not good enough.
Well, I assume you get a little bit more out of it being interactive, like, because you can be in there and maybe touch things, but I can't imagine you'd spend more than half an hour in this.
No. So that one there got in. It's fine for what it was. We had new episodes of Love, Victor, Big Sky, and Solar Opposites. So watched all of them. Big Sky, me and my wife are really enjoying that series. Some people aren't quite so keen on it, but it does get going as more episodes go in. So that's like mine and my wife. That's the show that me and my wife are watching together, is Big Sky. So we're looking. So that one's good. Love, Victor. I'm enjoying it. My wife kind of dropped off of that one. She didn't think it was that great. Solar Opposites, I didn't even try that one on because I just knew she does. That the animation one, she's just not gonna watch. I'm really enjoying that show. It's like really crazy. I'm getting my like South Park vibes of like when I was a teenager of like, okay, it is completely balmy, completely bonkers, and I'm really enjoying it. And it kind of feels wrong to be watching on Disney. It's like, there's like swearing and decapitating, and there's this whole other there's this whole subplot going on. It's like all of these toys and stuff behind them. There would be like shrunken down people, and they've all kind of created like a little Mad Max area where they're all trying to survive in there because all they're being fed on is candy. And there's this massive fight that breaks out, and a load of people killed because of insulin for a diabetic. It's just like it's just because all they can eat is like M&M candy bars and things, which are like this big. So the diabetics are all having problems. It is absolutely bonkers. It makes no sense at all if you try to explain to anyone, but when you watch it, it makes complete sense. And it's like like the things you use for floss that have got like a little plastic thing that you can drop in, rather than the old-fashioned way. Like they could decapitate someone with that, because suddenly that's like a weapon when you're this big. You can hold it, and it is bonkers, it is crazy, and I'm really enjoying it. So that one's definitely a highlight. I definitely recommend. If you like things like Family Guy, South Park, Rick and Morty, that's definitely a show to check out. So there's a reason why it's trending, because it's brand new, and I think there's a lot of people that are enjoying that one.
It sounds bonkers.
It is a bit bonkers. It's just these aliens that the trouble is with these aliens, because they can't, they haven't got the connection with us, so they don't. The concept of like right and wrong is very different. They haven't got that. When they say you can't do something, like, we'd just be like, well, that's just normal. They haven't got that, and that fish out of water allows them so much more flexibility. And I'm just really enjoying this series. The second season comes to Hulu in a couple of weeks, so I don't know quite when it'll be arriving on Disney Plus, but yeah, loving that show. Like I said, Dollface, we watched the first episode. That arrives next week on Disney Plus internationally. I didn't like. Oh, in the UK, I didn't like it. Just a whole scene at the beginning started with her getting on a bus with a woman as a cat face, representing obviously that she's going to become an old woman that's got cats. And I was just like, what? I didn't find it funny. And I was again, I'm a 40-year-old man. I've got the concept of your sisterhood and your girlfriends just doesn't really work on me. So that didn't work for me. And then obviously we had WandaVision. So what did you think of WandaVision this week?
I liked the episode overall. I think it was an important episode, a lot of backstory, not just for the series, but kind of filling in the gaps for Wanda herself. That said, I wish the episode had not been entirely the backstory of Wanda up until the last. Well, no, the entire episode was the backstory of Wanda, and then there was a post-credit scene or a post, and that was it. I would have liked a little bit more meat to the episode.
It's that kind of funny thing. This was the longest episode we've had so far, right? And there was that kind of feeling going, had this been in a movie, this would have been like done and dusted in like 2 minutes. It felt like, did we really have to go through every single bit of exploring Wanda, of what made her? There was a couple of interesting things I thought of. When she was in the at home in I can't even think of what country she was in. Sokovia.
Probably because it's not a real country.
Yeah, that's probably what's throwing me off. And she's got her love of sitcoms, and so we can see where the influence is coming for that one. But also the thing of she had powers when she was a kid. She stopped the bomb going off with a basic, and that suddenly changed. It's like obviously she a wit, but also that other thing of she's a mutant. So now we've got something a little bit different. It wasn't necessarily that the Tesseract of the Mind Stone unlocked her and gave her abilities. She actually already had them.
Right, and it'll be a question of whether her brother also had abilities. Being twin brother, he probably did as well. It definitely feels like this was not the plan when they did it, because you go back to Age of Ultron and the movies before that, they were definitely trying to go like, superpowers are very rare. Thor is an anomaly. Iron Man is the strongest one there is because he's got technology on his side. Now, many, many years later, we're rewriting the MCU and going, no, there are actually some really, really strong characters out there like Captain Marvel and so forth. And they're like, okay, well, let's play with this and let's have Scarlet Witch actually be Scarlet Witch this time around.
Yeah, because obviously that's the first time she's been referenced as the Scarlet Witch by Agatha. I did like the whole intro with her in Salem. I thought that set that up perfectly. She's a witch during the Salem trials. We know now that purple magic is more powerful than blue magic, but we don't yet know if red magic or yellow magic is more powerful than purple. And then you've got green magic as well, haven't you? Because that's Doctor Strange, and they used yellow,
orange as well.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if it's not so much that the color is more powerful or less powerful. It's just that she was much more powerful.
Yeah,
I will say for that opening scene, I did appreciate that when you first set it up, you think, oh, this is typical Salem, the townspeople have found a witch and they're going to try it. And it turns out, no, it's actually the witches who are mad at Agatha for kind of blowing their cover.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought that was really done where in some ways that was enough of an intro just to kind of, and she just wants the power. She wants to know how Scarlet Witch is doing it all, because she can't do it. She doesn't know how, she can literally turn a cockroach into a bird, and that's like the height. She's really struggling to go much more than that.
And it's not even that she can turn the cockroach into a bird. She's just disguising the cockroach as a bird. Yeah. It's still a cockroach, or I think it was a cicada actually, but her magic is illusion. It's not actual transmogrification. That's a fun word to say.
I'm not even going to try and put that one out.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Whereas Wanda's magic is actual magic, and it's super powerful, and she apparently doesn't know how to use it. She's going on instinct.
And also it's like chaos magic. I mean, that's a new word, not something I've heard before. In
the comics, her powers have been referred to as chaos magic since basically the beginning. But it is the first time that we're calling it that in the MCU. Yeah, is there a dog running around?
Yeah, now? She's biting my feet, because she's gone through her chew. No, she's started attacking me. So no, I do think it felt a little bit long. I'm going to be honest. This probably was one of the least favorite. It was still very good, but it was like I remember getting to the end of it and going, it took a long time to go nowhere. It took a long time to go absolutely, and it's like for the penultimate episode, it felt like, we've got a lot of stuff to cover in this last episode. Are we getting a 3-hour episode to kind of fit it all in? It's like we're really going to be rushing it at this point. Of if we've only got like a 30 to 40-minute episode, it's I don't know where we're going with this one.
No, if you're going to do a slow burn throughout the entire series, you can't have the final episode be a sprint. That just doesn't work. So we'll see how that goes next week. They did a lot of the information is important to the character, not necessarily important to the current plot, though.
Yeah.
But the most important bit didn't even have anything to do with either Agatha or Wanda in the end. It was that Wanda didn't actually take Vision's body.
No.
Because we thought that Vision wandering around here was her stealing the body and reanimating it. In fact, she just created it out of nothing, and the real body is still out there.
Yes, so obviously there was that mid-end scene credit where we now have an activated Vision, but he's been cleaned up, so he's not purple anymore. He's now blue, and he's not powered by the Mind Stone in the same way. Now, not having really read too much into him in the comic books, who is he?
No, it's still Vision. He did go through a phase where he just bleached all the color out of his body, where he was basically just like a pale white. Didn't last very long, but people tend to remember it because it is a very distinctive look, and rightly drew comparisons to Dr. Manhattan from the Watchmen series. And his character was very similar to that, because he also just like no emotions, no love, none of that. He's just straight up logic. He's pure Vulcan at that point. We'll see where they're going with it. There you go. We'll see where they're going with it on this one. Are they going to be like,
oh, there's going to be a merger in there. She's going
to that's kind of what I'm thinking. She's going to take the personality of Vision from the Hex world and merge it with the body, and that's how Vision's going to survive past this, assuming he does survive past this. But there's basis for it in the comics. Vision has been evil in the past. He's been controlled in the past. They really could go any way with it, and we'll see what else lies in store for them.
Yeah, because there's been this whole thing really of Paul Bettany talking about this massive spoiler thing of him wanting to work with this person for ages that he's going to be working with, and now everyone's now going, he's working with himself. That's what he's going to be doing.
To be honest, I think that would be like the height of being an actor, is like to get to work with yourself. You can do being John Malkovich, being Paul Bettany. Elizabeth Olsen got to do it a little bit in this episode.
The only thing is, we're thinking that next week is the finale, right? It's the finale next week. and we know Doctor Strange and War Machine are in it. You know, we know that business is about to pick up next week. You know,
and there's a lot of interesting implications in that too, because obviously we're leading into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, or whatever the title is, which will be, if not a direct continuation of this, at least some form of influenced by this. And then, presuming War Machine does show up, there's that whole thing where Vision was the guy who injured him in the first place, albeit accidentally during Civil War.
Yeah.
There could be some very awkward scenes here, intentionally so.
Yeah, this is how that's all going to work together. And then Monica, we know we've not seen anything from Monica, what she's doing. We don't know what Pietro is doing as well, how that's going to work. Very much kind of fake Pietro, and they kind of, whether or not they even acknowledged like he is, you know, why he looked like the one from the X-Men, it might just be glossed over and we don't get an explanation for that.
I think that might just be meta at this point. They just mean...
either that or it depends on what's happening with the multiverse, because I mean we know that's coming in, we know it's coming in Doctor Strange, and it leads into it. So whether or not but if now we know that Pietro wasn't pulled in by her, unless Agatha opens up the multiverse, I don't know, but it doesn't seem like it.
It doesn't seem like Agatha has multiverse style powers, but if she started the process and then Wanda finished it unconsciously, there's something for that. And again, if we're going with the idea now that these two might actually be mutants, you know, kind of retconning that in here, retconning being retroactive continuity, where you change the past, they might just go with, yeah, they're mutants, he's a mutant, cool, fake Pietro, or what did you call it? Pietro.
Yeah, it's all right. The thing is, well, we've got the whole thing with the kids, Billy and Tommy. You know, they obviously, there's something that's going to have to happen to them. So I think very obviously something has to happen to the kids to make Wanda go bonkers, which then opens up these multiverses, which then Doctor Strange has to come in and fix. That seems to be the most logical way of kind of. I mean, Wanda's going to have to go through some more pain in order to kind of unlock.
Yeah, even if you take the kids out of the equation, like they're perfectly fine and they're just in the backyard playing on the swing set or something. This pale Vision or whatever they're cooking up on the outside the hex, that is going to absolutely push her over the top. And then if you throw the kids on there as well, whether the kids disappear because they were created with chaos magic or Agatha does something to them, this series, this might not go well for Wanda next week. Yeah,
I'm gonna imagine like the hex is just gonna like stop,
implode. It's just gonna,
because you can't. But it's very. I mean, I just like the fact like Agatha was like, "You got all the power in the world to create anything you want, and you didn't create milk for your cereal." You know, and it was like,
she's got a point.
Yeah, but again, it's just very interesting how this works. It's a very strange episode. Very, it felt a little bit like episode 4 in some ways, but didn't need to give us as much new stuff of just setting everything up. And
well, episode 4 showed us a lot of stuff that we knew nothing about.
Yeah,
you know, we got to peel back the curtain and go, okay, Sword is sitting out here. This is what's going on. This is what everyone else is reacting to. Where this one, even the new pieces are things that you could have probably just figured out on your own through inference. You know, the how the Mind Stone created her powers. You don't actually really need that scene. You get the idea of it.
But what the thing is, wasn't it the Space Stone? Which one was in the Tesseract?
The Tesseract, I think, was the
Space Stone, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they didn't have the Tesseract. They had the Mind Stone. They had Loki's staff.
Yeah. It's just like, it's a bit of it's just very weird how all that worked out. But obviously that will all make a lot more sense next week.
It might not.
It might not, mate. It just feels like that kind of thing. You're going, you really got to, and then we're gonna have to wait. How long for? Well, we're gonna have to wait till. Well, Doctor Strange is this. No, Doctor Strange is not till next year, is it?
Yeah, no, I think Shang-Chi is at the end of this year, right?
Yeah, because Spider-Man,
Well, Spider-Man's got its own. Spider-Man's got its own release schedule. It's outside the MCU.
Yeah,
in regards to scheduling.
Yeah, well, because it wasn't this. It's not this Christmas, is it? It's not out this Spider-Man.
I mean, we only just found out the name for Spider-Man this past week.
What was it? What was it called? No Way Home, on it. No, they did so many names this week. I was trying to Home Slice for, really. Yeah, so I'm just trying to work out when it's coming out. Release date.
Keeping in mind
it's supposed to be coming out in December.
Which one, Spider-Man or Doctor Strange?
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah, but like I said, the Spider-Man movies have had their own release schedule. The Marvel universe has its own. I'm pretty sure, obviously, Black Widow, and then I think we have Shang-Chi and the Eternals before Doctor Strange comes out.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. Doctor Strange 2 doesn't come out till March next year. So
okay,
we're gonna have a bit of a wait.
Well, if this ends on a cliffhanger, I think we riot. I think.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to. We'll just wait that extra week until Marvel.
Although to be fair, should clarify, if the series itself ends on a cliffhanger, we riot. Yeah. If the series ends and that's fine, and then they have the post-credit scene, which is a cliffhanger, that's fine. That's business as usual. We won't get mad about that.
Yeah, the thing is, because there's been a lot of talk about like multiple seasons of shows, and Kevin Feige has been a bit like, some shows are planned for multiple seasons, some shows aren't. WandaVision is a one-shot deal. You can see that coming up because essentially they might end up doing something else with Scarlet Witch, but WandaVision as a whole, that won't be returning for a second season. There'll be something completely fresh and different. Whereas Loki, I think, can go. It's already got like a second season going. It's a little bit more easier for them to do. WandaVision won't work in that same way again. Once the hex drops, it's no longer,
Either you're in a situation where Vision is completely aware of what's going on from the beginning, in which case the sitcom doesn't work, or Wanda does like a complete reboot of his brain. You're back to the first episode again. Obviously, it wouldn't go the exact same way, but it's just. It really wouldn't. I will give them credit that if they did announce a second season, and they're like, "Yep, we're starting in the 50 sitcoms again," be like, "This sounds stupid, but you've earned you've at least earned us giving it a shot." But I really hope they don't do that. If they wanted to do another series, go on and make it the magical adventures of Agatha and Scarlet Witch or something. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
It kind of feels a bit like this was an event. This is a kind of a particular thing, whereas something like Hawkeye and Loki are very much set up that they can carry on, regardless. But WandaVision's kind of is an event. So
they could be used rather than having a direct sequel to it. They could be setting up, say, the Young Avengers, because Tommy and Billy are original founding members of the Young Avengers. And there's plenty of stuff that they could do with that. They could have them doing their own series. Vision could go off and do his own series, presuming he survives next week. There's a lot of ways they can do it that aren't WandaVision season 2.
Yeah. So there we go. So that is that one. So next week we'll obviously be going through the finale, and then we got like a week off, and then it's going to be into Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Well, it does look like we're getting a little bit more of a break between that ending and Loki. It looks like there might be about a 4 to 5 week gap. We got Bad Batch in the middle of that, but I'm actually because a lot of people, I think that might be a good thing. I'm actually think that might not necessarily be a bad thing because you got Black Widow dropping in between it, but I quite like the idea of us having a little bit of a break,
and it'll give you a chance to catch up on any of the movies that might be relevant to it as well.
There we go.
All
right. On that note, guys,
thank you.
Yes, we will. Next, will be available next week. We're going to be talking about the Winter Soldier. That's going to be our movie that we'll be talking about on one next week. I think tomorrow. I think it's Rocketeer. We're going to be. Me and Jeremy will be talking about Rocketeer.
You guys did not like that movie.
No, we didn't like that one at all. That's a little bit of a spoiler. But nevertheless, guys, as I said, check out tomorrow with our live Q&A. Rocketeer episode will be up on the podcast feed tomorrow as well, and we'll be back next week with another episode. So thank you very much. Cheers. Laters.